ringing up Mr. Kenna.
This is the voicemail of Graeme Kenna from the Legal Department for Adult Services in Bradford Council. Please leave a message and I will get back to you.
After you've finished your message, just hang up. Or to hear more options, please press 1.
Oh yes, hello Mr. Kenna, it's Mr. Hussain here regarding my brother Talib Hussain, and once again leaving yourself a message encouraging you to engage with me or tell me what's happening with my brother. Today is Friday the 13th of October 2023 and the time is about 20 past 12, and it's been now 66 days that you have unlawfully kidnapped and are holding my brother hostage like this. It's not acceptable, Mr. Browell. You understand? Sorry, Mr. Kenna. It's not acceptable what you've done. All I've simply asked, if you are doing what you're supposed to be doing and it's legitimate and you're open and transparent as as the council's constitution requires you to be, then what's the problem? Tell me under what legal framework you've taken my brother. All right, you just can't simply say we're the local authority and you must adhere to us because we have authority. We're the local authority, and under our authorityship, that we're the state and we can do what we like. That's not, the fact that the state can't do what it likes. It has to follow by certain laws, and those laws is what I'm asking. Under what legal framework have you taken my brother from the garden from the vehicle in our garden? All right. And then are holding him captive like this? I need to know what legal framework you've used in order to gain entry to the property, in order to photograph everything, in order to go to my bedroom, and in order to take my brother's passports, among other valuable items. So you tell me, what have you done that? You can't just use pace. Okay, and to say that, well, we know the police have pace powers, which have powers to search. When a crime has been committed, there was no crime being committed. All right, you encouraged the police to arrest me so you could abuse that power. There is no pace powers. Me and my family are peacefully sitting in our garden. My brother's peacefully sitting in his car. We're not encouraging any violence or threats or anything like this. And nobody's raised a safeguarding concern. Nobody has, because the last time somebody raised a safeguarding concern, it was a member of the public, which was me. I raised a safeguarding alert on the 12th of July 2018. And what was the consequences of that? You then kidnapped my brother and then looked to remove me as nearest relative. Now all of a sudden you have been desperately encouraging somebody to raise a safeguarding alert or a welfare, so you can instigate this welfare check. And this welfare check has, I'm just reminded that this is how you originally engaged with us back in July 2012. Over 11 years ago, when we had nothing further, me and my brother and my family had nothing further to do with you, because you had in 2009 murdered our father, and you came down under the pretext of trying to do a welfare check on Talib because you did not have any idea what happened to the direct payments that you were paying. So for 5 years you were paying out direct payments, public money, and were not auditing it properly, and we had disengaged with you because you had murdered our father. Now you came down under the pretext of doing a welfare check with the police, and it's always the case, isn't it? You can just get the police as your goons to come down and threaten and intimidate us, and that's exactly what's happened now recently. On the 8th of August 2023, there was no justification for my arrest. In fact, I had cooperated. I had stated that, look, you can carry out a assessment, but get a translator. You had come down with a clear intention of abducting my brother. An English-speaking counselor, social worker came down, and not Mr. Browell, who I normally deal with. So I didn't know who he was. He came down with the police to threaten and intimidate me. So I would react violently, so you can then get the justification that you require on a false flag situation that you created. As a consequence of you coming down, it was quite clear to me that whenever you're doing a welfare check, especially like this is a clear and abuse of power, and you're acting ultra-virusly, and so therefore you arrested me when I told you, go get a translator, you can speak to him, because I knew what you were doing. You arrested me, took me off the scene, okay, and then released me by saying that I can't see my brother anymore. You cannot do this. There is no law, and this is one of the reasons that on my regular emails that I was sending you in the month of September, you cannot answer that question. What law have you used to take my brother? All right, you cannot take him like this. And what laws are you holding my brother under? And what rights does he have now that he's being detained by an agency of the state? What is this? Is this North Korea? Is this Mao Zedong? Is it China, a communist country, or what is this? You can't just come and abduct somebody and not tell the family. We're worried sick. Me and my sister are worried sick about his health and welfare. But that is the point, isn't it, Mr. Kenna, isn't it? It's not about justice. It's not about truth. It's about you torturing me, as you have been doing previously. You've tortured my mother to death, and you kidnapped her in order to psychologically torture me. That's all this is about, in order to cause me to have a mental breakdown. And when I was not having a mental breakdown, you encouraged my solicitor. You got my solicitor to work with you in order for you to come and encourage him to do a capacity assessment on me. And then you managed to achieve that as well. You bought off the High Court judges to say I lack mental capacity to litigate. What the hell? I mean, this is you people are just making a clear mockery of the law. The laws don't apply to you. You make all these fraudulent undertakings saying that we're doing something in the best interest of the public. How much money, time, and resources have you spent on persecuting and victimizing me? And now if you reflect upon it, it would have been a lot cheaper for you to continue to have paid £410.70 to my brother for the last 11 years. But you think you're making a cost saving by refusing to give that money to him or support services, and therefore stealing from our trust fund. This is not acceptable, Mr. Kenna, and you know it and I know it. The history of this case goes back more than 20 years, more than maybe 20 years is my direct involvement, but you know the fact that the local authority have been involved with this family, especially my older brother Nazem, since 1983. So that's 40 years of persecuting and hounding and oppressing and committing acts of villainy to break down our family, to do all this stuff. This is not acceptable. All I'm asking, Mr. Kenna, if you're the council, if you're doing things lawfully, if you're doing things legally, just tell me how you've done this. What legal framework have you worked on? Nothing. You've just came and kidnapped my brother. What legal framework are you working under to hold him like this? Nothing. You're just holding him at ransom. He has certain human rights. You know he's a very vulnerable person, and I act on his behalf. I do act on his behalf because having capacity.
You're approaching the maximum allowed time for recording a message. If you wish to record further, please choose the append option from the menu. If you've finished recording, just hang up. If you don't carry on recording or hang up, your message will be deleted. To listen to your message, press 1. To re-record your message, press 2. To continue recording, please record the rest of your message after the tone. When you've finished recording, press the hash key.
Okay, Mr. Kenna, once again, time is getting the better of me. There's a limited amount of time that I have to speak. And obviously today is 66 days later that you've kidnapped my brother, are holding him at ransom. There's no legal framework in place. All you're doing is buying off the judges. You bought off the District Judge Wilcox now, District Judge Mitchell, His Honour Judge Grosnell in the case regarding Manningham Housing. You're pulling the strings. You're just fronting them. This is a zombie case that will only end in your best interest because you've already purchased the outcome from the judiciary. This is not acceptable, Mr. Kenna. I encourage you to speak to me. I have a right to record under Article 10 of the Human Rights Act, freedom of expression. You have no right to refuse to engage with me. I've not been violent or aggressive to anybody. I'm just simply want to know where my brother is.
Sorry, but you've reached the maximum time available for recording your message. To listen to your message, press 1. To re-record your message, press 2. If you are happy with your message, press 4. To specify a message sent. Goodbye.
So once again, this is leaving a daily message to them to simply say, look, where is my brother? You can't just take my brother kidnap my brother from our home without any legal framework in place. And they won't answer because they know that they're the ones that are criminals. They know the fact that they're doing something wrong. All they can react with is violence. That's it. That's all they can react with is aggression and violence and bullying and intimidating and murdering people. The local authority, Bradford Council, are a destructive force. All they know how to do is to destroy. That's all they can. That's all they can do. They're a parasitic, criminal, destructive force. They're not a force for good. They're not a force for. But what they do then is they try to give the emblem of civility, the emblem and the contrivance and the facade, the veneer of respectability through the shiny documents that they create, the colourful, shiny pamphlets that they create with the cheap rhetoric and words that they manipulate and twist, saying that, oh no, we're the local authority, we're here to help, we're here to protect the innocent, we're there to safeguard the vulnerable, we are here to do all good in the world, like your angelic gods. But the reality is that is very far disconnected from the actions, and the actions are simply, like, in my case, what's happening here. I've told them, they know. I've told them in September 2018 when they first kidnapped my brother that I'm going to start recording what you're doing, and I'm going to publicise it, and for you to amend the council's constitution accordingly. They cannot do that because, you see, me recording them is the silver bullet that exposes their lies and deceptions, because in the absence of me recording them, it's only them, and they use the badge or the emblem of authority, that we're an authority. I am a judge, I'm a police constable, I'm a police sergeant. Okay, and we're talking about police sergeants. There was another police sergeant recently in the news that had stated that he had fought in the Falklands War. When it transpired, he was not old enough, and he was going around showing medals of his Falkland War victories. But then the reality came out that no, this is all just a lie, and that's just, I think, quite emblematic of how the local authority works. It's all about the show. All about what you can justify or evidence to the people, but there's a disconnect between what they showed to the world and what the reality is. You cannot simply get a piece of paper and say, no, I am honourable because this piece of paper says I'm honourable. All right, this is the kind of tricks that they play. So this local authority now have taken my brother, and I'm saying, look, well, give me that piece of paper. Give me your piece of fraudulent paper that states that you can now take possession and control and make my brother your private property. Go, let me see that paper. They can't even produce that paper this time. They have no paperwork. They're going to get a judge to sign off on what? You understand? There's no paperwork that allows them to do this, and that's hence why they're not willing to speak to me. Because ordinarily, yeah, they can just get, here a judge, here's some money, give us a paperwork that says that we're intelligent and we're benevolent. Just like the scarecrow in Wizard of Oz. They just want a piece of paper, and they believe that piece of paper has value. But in these particular circumstances, I have been on to them for such a long time that I'm not even allowing them to give me that piece of paperwork or to create a falsehood. Because what the paperwork that they need now, which they know, first of all, in order to get that paperwork, they need another piece of paperwork that says my brother lacks mental capacity. And for the last 5 years, I have done everything possible to positively establish that my brother does not lack mental capacity, and he has capacity, and with that mental capacity, he's authorized me to act on his behalf. And that's something that they simply cannot have, because that will ultimately cause them an existential crisis because of the costs involved of overturning the criminal conviction, where they have quite easily taken over £750,000 from my trust fund, in addition to saving £410 and 70 pence for the last over 11 years. So that works out to be another quarter of £1,000,000. So that's in total £1 million that they've physically taken, not hypothetical money that they would normally refer to. This is physical cash or physical money or assets and resources that they've taken away from us, over £1 million. And obviously, if I get my conviction overturned, which this case is all about, then they know that they face an existential crisis. So rather than dealing with me directly or dealing with us in a respectful manner, they want to lie, cheat, and manipulate. They want to encourage all my family members to go on their side. So they're all closing ranks to target me and my brother. They need to provide me with what has happened to my brother, but they're saying, no, we don't want to do that. We are better placed, and it's far more quote unquote efficient for us to simply buy off the judges. And this is where the danger starts, because eventually that's what they did in my mother's case. They bought off the judges in order to get control of her finances, and eventually drove her within 334 days, drove her to bankruptcy. They're telling me that she's £40,000 in debt when they had got over £100,000 and spent £100,000 in a course of 334 days of her life. They spent over £150,000. And they did that simply. As soon as when it started costing them too much money, they just killed her off. And that's what the situation today is. They've got my brother's money. They got my brother. Got all his money, and they're gonna now look to dissipate that money as fastly as they can, so they can end my brother's life. And in the meantime, I'm obviously gonna ring them up every single day to find out exactly what's happening with my brother. Where is he? They can't just hold my brother hostage and a captive like this. And they believe they can, because nobody is gonna challenge them, and when somebody does challenge them, they'll just come out with a bag of lies. And it's the lies and deception and corruption that they want you to not challenge. And here I am saying, look, just tell me where my brother is. All right, like previously my brother, when they were last year in, I think, March April time, when Mr. Browell came down to see my brother simply asked him, where's my money? My brother is very conscious of the fact that he's got money and he wants to go to Pakistan and he wants to go on holiday, he's entrusted me to take care of his money. I've video recorded him telling me all this stuff, and video recorded him demonstrating mental capacity. I've then paid for a private assessor, an independent private assessor, to assess him with mental capacity. All of that's being ignored. All of that. We don't want that. You cannot be in charge of your brother's finances. You cannot be in charge, have anything to do with your brother, and because your brother is now so valuable to us, because you have increased his value to such a degree where you're where he's worth now £1 million a week, because that's how much I've increased his value, and therefore we don't want to pay that money, and we'd rather just kidnap him and force care upon him. But this is all unlawful, illegal, unconstitutional. There is no legal. This is a precedence where they can come and steal somebody and hold them for 66 days. I have no idea what state my brother's in. Obviously, they may be able to meet his physical needs, and that's what all hospitals can do: meet your physical needs. They cannot meet his psychological, and with regards to psychological needs, all they can do is medicate you to calm you down. That's just like giving drugs to people, like illegal drugs to get people high. So all your drugs do is calm you down to get you high. So they just calm you. All right, that they do not meet your underlying psychological needs. They can't cure. There is no pill that you can take to cure schizophrenia, is there? There is no pill, because one doesn't exist, and there's no pill for meeting your emotional, which is the main thing, meeting your emotional, spiritual needs. How is a local authority, Bradford Council, that can't even look after children that they have a duty of care to, that have had their rights taken away? How can they meet my brother's higher needs of emotional needs, human companionship, family needs? They can't meet any of these needs, but they want to be in a position to do so because it's in their financial interest to do so, because they've been saving a substantial amount of costs from exploiting both me and my family members for the last 40 years. For 40 years, they've been running this scam by saying that they're meeting our needs of adults and elderly in social care, when they're not really. All they've really been doing is, it's a situation that they can't resolve, and what they have been doing is taking that money, spending it on themselves, on vanity projects, on projects that will show that are visibly auditable or conceivable that they're doing something, like building ponds in the city centre, and stating that we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing. But yeah, the price that's really being paid is that you're not meeting human needs. You're paid to safeguard and the human needs in order to ensure that people's health and welfare and well-being is maintained. And all they do is give rhetoric, say, yeah, we're doing that, when they're taking the money and abusing the people and exploiting the people. And eventually, when the people get so stressed out, they go, oh, the person just died. And usually the excuse or the pretext that they use is, oh, he just died of pneumonia, or he just died of natural causes. Why? How could my brother, who was in his just in his early 60s, at a care home, die of pneumonia when he'd been alive for 10 years? How could my mum just die of pneumonia like this when you've in the last 334 days of her life you did not let her see her own children? So you see, it's just all contrivance, it's all a fraud, it's all a deception, and it's all lies. And they go around telling people, and this is the biggest one of them all, oh, we're a city of culture. How are you a city of culture when you go around murdering people and exploiting? Maybe that is the culture. Maybe when they're saying that the city of culture, the culture that they're talking about is a neo-colonialist imperialism. Maybe that's why they're saying that they're the city of culture. But it's got nothing to do with the fact that, it's true culture, because they're just exploiting this. I don't understand how they can state that. But anyway,